Again, good morning and good evening to everyone. Thank you for being flexible that we can meet on Monday this week instead of Tuesday. So we are going to begin with the usual
Can't hear you.
Open recitations.
Dr. Lai, you haven't assigned us as interpreter.
Okay. If you cannot hear me, apparently it's not an issue on my end. This has to do with interpretation rooms. Yeah, if somebody can type a message on the chat room so that the people who can't hear us know that the problem is not on my end. I just realized the irony of telling someone who can't hear me that they can't
hear you.
Yeah, can someone reach out to Miss Laura that it's a problem on her end? Just so she knows, all of you, if you can hear me, put your thumbs up. Well, she's very stubborn. She's not watching how everybody has their thumbs up. So I cannot help her. Dhala dhava jebe dra novar jebe ge tharbadan tham je kembe bardu jobra jeba tham jege so jebe manang kadang nyambe senjen tham je dewa tham ten tunga thunder nerdula name payang dabra sobe janju rinpo je tobra jo dhala dhava jebe dra Nobar jebe geng tarba dham tham je gembe bardu jobra jeba dham je gesu jebe ma nangka dang nyampe senchen tham je dewa dhan ten dungya dhander nerdu lana me payang dhamara zobe chanchu rinpo je Dobra jai dala dhava jebe drai nobar jebe gek dharba dhan tham je kembe bardu jobra jeba tham je gesu jebe ma nangka dang nyampe senchen tham je dewa dhan ten dungya dhander nerdu lana me payang Dobra zobe chanchu rinpo je dobra jai de je de sama geki bardu longa isum gewala ko maji bardu longa isum gewala ko du dherene songdene ma santa samye bardu longa isum gewala ko sonje jodan soje jonamla Chanchu bardu dhani kyabsu je dhage jinsu kebe sonang ke Rola pencher sanje drupra ju sanje jodan sugi jonam la chanchu bardu dhani kyabsu je dhage jinsu kebe sonang ke Rola pencher sanje drupra ju sanje jodan sugi jonam la Chanchu bardu dhani kyabsu je dhage jinsu kebe sonang ke Rola pencher sanje drupra ju manang kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang dewe kindan dambra gyurje dungao tang tungyao ji gyurdan trewa gyurje dungao mepe dewa dang me trewa gyurje nering chadang nidang trewa Tang nyang la nabra gyurje manang kadang nyampe senjen tamche dewa dang dewe gindan dambra gyuji dunya dang dunya gi gyudang drewa gyuji dunya mebe dewa dang me drewa gyuji nering chadang nidang drewa tangyam la nabra gyuji manang kadang nyampe senjen tamche dewa dang dewe gindan dambra gyuji Dunya dang dunya gi gyu dang drewa gyurji dunya me pe dewa dang me drewa gyurji nirin cha dang ni dang drewa tang nyang la ne bra gyurji. Durji Chanchen Dile Naroda Mami Tapo Patuji Dengun Katrin Sunten Sawe Lame Shab Sanju Lama Yidam Chokyong La Suwa Denso Taki Chen Jilu Kyab Tenkin Du Me Sam Lingkuen Trampe Tong Sung Yong La Kyat Sum Me Kyab Wa Durji Chang Pa Ji Dengun Pa Shab La Du Du Tak Tu Sang Kyo Kyo Le Me Chen Jilu Shi Tu Ji Ji Ningi Mu Pa San Ne Kyang Sen Tu De Du Du Pra Chen Jilu Hong Jin Ye Jin Nu Chang Sang Pe Ma Ki Sa Tong Po La Ya Sen Chu King Ngu Dum Nye Pe Ma Chu Ne She Shu Da Ko Du Kan Du Mang Pung Ko Ke Ki Je Sen Ta De Ki Jin Ji Lo Ji Shi Su Su Guru Pe Ma Se De Ho Min Chu King Yi Kim Po Da Ne De Sun San Chi Kun Ji Ngu Bo Ni Ran Sen Chu Kung Ngun Sun Ton Ze Ba Sa We La Me Shab La So Wa De So shi bogi ju shi me do dro dri la lin shi nin de gen pa di san ji shin du ming de bo wa yi du gu nam da shin la kyo wa shu ku sun yong so la me cu na la chi nang sang sun de shi ni ki ju da lu long ju nang shi yong she la me ju gen gu de se du so zhang so wa dang ju jing sha pa da ji se yi rang ku shin so wa ye ke wa ju se da ge ji so pa tam ji so be chang ju chu ngo om guru de wa tha gi ni ra na men da la Bodhichitta Sen Chen Nam Ki Sampa Da Lo Yi Ji Dra Ji Dar Ba Che Chung Tum Mon Te Pa Yi Chu Gi Ko Lo Ko Ru Du So we continue in Bodhicharyavattara. We are now in the middle of the very first chapter. So this as just reminder, right? The entire topic of Shantideva's Bodhicharyavattara can be summarized by one word: bodhicitta. Outside the context of Bodhicharyavattara, so in a way you could say, if we zoom out with a broader perspective, then from many other sources, we know that bodhicitta can be divided into what's known as relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. So, for example, in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation by Gampopa, he clearly begins his discussion on bodhicitta by saying that in the broadest picture, bodhicitta consists of the relative aspect and the ultimate aspect. So the relative aspect is the aspect where love and compassion, I would say, is foregrounded, meaning emphasized in the foreground. Relative bodhicitta is where love and compassion is foregrounded, and then wisdom is in the background. Then ultimate bodhicitta is where wisdom is in the foreground, in front, and love and compassion is in the background. So this is one way of kind of looking at the differences between relative and ultimate bodhicitta. Then Bodhichayavatara itself is mainly presenting bodhicitta from the aspect of relative bodhicitta. Except for chapter 9, which is the chapter on wisdom. There, of course, the main discussion there would be on the ultimate bodhicitta, the aspect which is ultimate. But the relationship between relative and ultimate bodhicitta is not like, say, two types of cakes or two types of pizza. So you have the plain cake and you have the supreme cake. It's not like that. Like the cheese pizza and, supreme pizza. It's not like that. But more, the relationship is more the appearance of the cake or the pizza and the actual or the inside of the cake and the pizza. So the outside aspect of the cake or pizza and the inside aspect of the cake and pizza, and with the understanding that no cake or pizza can only have the outside and not the inside, or have only the inside and not the outside. The implication here, therefore, is it's not the case. Even though we say, oh, this is relative bodhicitta, this is ultimate bodhicitta, the implication here is that it doesn't mean, oh, relative is less good, something that we eventually give up when we have ultimate. No, the relationship between relative and ultimate in this context is exactly like the outside of something and the inside of something. If you want that something, you need both. So then, further implication, which I think is really important for us to understand, all the practices, all the recommendations, all the things that we are taught to cultivate, like the 6 paramitas, right? Beginning with the paramita or the perfection of giving, generosity, disciplined conduct, then patience, diligence, meditative concentration, all the way to wisdom. The 6 paramitas, the 10,000, virtues, all the things that we practice, which is taught under relative bodhicitta, these are not things to be discarded when we are Buddhas. Sometimes, certain interpretations make it sound like, these are just ways to get somewhere. And once you get somewhere, oh, you don't need these things anymore. And this would be a type of mistaken view. So generosity or giving is not just a means to get somewhere. Disciplined conduct is not just a means to get somewhere. So here, again, a footnote. There is a way of looking at things that is called the ground, the path, and the result. The ground means the basis. The path means the means or the method. The result means, the result. So, let's actually here begin with the path, since we've been talking about that. So all the things that we are encouraged to cultivate, to practice, to develop while on the path, right?
while using the method, while applying the means. These things, right? Again, they are not like arbitrary and temporary things that the Buddha, gave so that we can arrive at some place and we are done with these things, such as cultivating mindfulness, cultivating a generous heart, cultivating patience. At the point of the path, there are things to be developed. But they are things to be developed not because we don't have these things. Because on looking at this from the perspective of basis or ground, such qualities as mindfulness, such qualities as generosity, such qualities as patience, they already exist. It's available within us, but we have to draw them out. Not newly create, not go find from somewhere else. We just have to draw them out. So the path is the process of drawing out these qualities that already exist within us. Then the result, meaning when Buddhas are Buddhas, what happens to these qualities? These qualities now become naturally existing as part of the natural expression of what it means to be awake. So on the level of ground or basis, we are like gold ore or uncut diamond. These qualities are like uncut diamond and gold ore. So for you and me, with extremely untrained eyes, we are not jewelers. Even if we see gold ore, and if we see an uncut diamond, probably we're like, man, we won't even notice. We won't even know. We won't even recognize. But through the process of melting and smelting and burning the gold ore, that's the path. Through the process of cutting and polishing the diamond, that's the path. Now everybody can see, oh, that is gold. Oh, that is diamond. And that is the state of Buddha. This analogy, I think, is very interesting because, in a way, you can say, right, as far as the diamond and the gold is concerned, whether it's in the state of gold ore and uncut diamond, or now gold and cut and polished diamond, in a way, you could say, right, from the perspective of the actual gold, the actual diamond, nothing much has changed. Doesn't matter. From the level of ground and the level of result. And if we just stay there, then you can say, well, no need to have the path. Because, well, the gold is still the gold and the diamond is still the diamond, and polish over here, the gold is still gold, diamond is still diamond. Then if you look at it from that perspective, you say, well, who needs the path? You know who needs the path? We need the path because until the gold is purified of that which is not gold, until the diamond is cut and polished, this gold and diamond cannot benefit others. So it goes to show that at the heart of becoming awake is entirely about benefiting others. Yeah, so this gold and diamond, if it was only selfishly thinking of itself, right? Then it's like, well, no need to burn, no need to cut and polish, because that's a lot of work, and that's also, kind of painful. Yeah? Then another side is like, I would rather not be bothered by people, to be left alone. As gold or uncut diamond, no one hassling me, no one troubling me. So from that selfish perspective, you said, no need, But what this also means is like, if we say we want to become Buddha, only one reason, so that it benefits others. So for me, myself, there are so many wonderful and profound ways of defining what the Bodhisattva path is, how to understand it, what to call it, what it entails. So each of us have to find our own way to begin, to translate what the Bodhisattva path means, what it means to enter into Bodhisattva conduct. Yeah, each of us have to find a way to make it real for ourselves. So I'll share with you how I try to make it real for myself. I will confess, still very preliminary. And my definition right now of what the Bodhisattva path means is, I said, it's to enter into a state of being where I am willing to be inconvenienced. So my measure of like how real have I made this idea of the Bodhisattva path, I feel that it's easy to measure my progress, which is how willing am I to be inconvenienced? Simple as that. So many years ago, one of the pioneers of Tibetan Buddhism in the West, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, he said, the Bodhisattva path is the willingness to give up privacy. He's talking to his American students. It's a big thing, privacy in America. He says, the willingness to give up privacy. That is the way you measure how well you're doing on your Bodhisattva path. So then for me, privacy is, I appreciate it, but it's not such a big deal. Then it's my translation is, how willing am I to be inconvenienced? And, when we are not yet making much progress, then when we are inconvenienced, right, we come up with all sorts of reasons why it's a unreasonable inconvenience. Yes, those are our strategies to not be inconvenienced. Insofar as the Bodhisattva path is concerned, it doesn't matter whether the other side have good reason or bad reason or no reason to present an inconvenience to me. It's not my business to judge. My business is to look at my own ability to be inconvenienced. How big is that ability? Right now, still quite small. So quite a bit of work to do. From one perspective, it seems, oh my goodness, it's impossible. But from another perspective, this big idea of Bodhisattva path is distilled into something very simple. My willingness to be inconvenienced. So all of you that, I have opportunities to interact with. So I request to all of you, whenever we interact, please don't take advantage of what I just shared. Please don't purposely inconvenience me. But also be kind in another way. Which is when you can tell that I'm getting annoyed because I've been inconvenienced, skillfully just kind of include in the communication the word bodhicitta. That will also help me to remember, oh, right. I should, do better. So first request is, please don't take advantage. And say, he said his training is to be inconvenienced, because I probably cannot handle so well. Then I will give up, right? But then if you just be kind in that way, also not kind in the bigger picture. So in the bigger picture, being kind is also when you can tell that, I'm getting annoyed, because I've been inconvenienced, try to slip in, bodhicitta. It's like, oh, right. I will remember. From this perspective, I think almost all of you, maybe I think all of you, I've not looked at every screen to see who is attending this. I can say all of you are more advanced bodhisattvas than I am. Because I can tell you, my whole adult life, I've never lived with anybody else. So then I can think, oh, I'm so advanced, because I'm not disturbed, I'm at ease, That's because, I have not been inconvenienced with people that I have to live with. But I'm sure all of you have lots of opportunities to develop this ability to be inconvenienced. So you are more advanced bodhisattvas, I'm sure. And also then don't think, oh, my situation, is not so great. I cannot really practice. No, I think many of you, if not all of you, have way more opportunities to practice this bodhisattva path, because you have people you live with, and you are developing the ability to be inconvenienced. Yeah, so actually, before we look at the actual verses, are there any questions, comments? Let's see, I don't see whatever turns up at the chat because of my distance, as I said, from where the computer is. But if anybody sees anything, and if anybody happen to be on Facebook and see anything, you can be generous and help us. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and if not, stanzas 17 and 18. Let's go to stanza 17. So from 17 to 20, Shantideva now gives an a general discussion of the power or the benefits of these two aspects of bodhicittas, these two aspects of relative bodhicitta, which is aspiration bodhicitta and action bodhicitta. So together, so in the interpretation room as well, so let's read 17 to 20. So I'm going to read in English from 17 to 20. From bodhicitta in intention, great results arise for those still turning in the wheel of life. Yet merit does not rise from it in ceaseless streams, as in the case with active bodhicitta. For when with irreversible intent, the mind embraces bodhicitta, willing to set free the endless multitudes of beings, in that instant, from that moment on, a great and unremitting stream, a strength of wholesome merit, even during sleep and inattention, rises equal to the vastness of the sky. This the Tathagata, in the Sutra Subahu requested, said with reasoned argument for those inclined to lesser paths. So basically, these four stanzas, four verses here, two points Shantideva is making. He says that in some places you can see the Buddha saying, merely by having aspiration bodhicitta, which is the resolve, the desire, the vow to achieve Buddha for the benefit of others, aspiration bodhicitta, merely just having even that. Verse 19, a great and unremitting stream, a strength of wholesome merit, even during sleep and inattention. Last class we talked about this, that even during sleep, or even if you are not thinking of this specifically, the merit rises equal to the vastness of the sky. So Shantideva says, yeah, there are places in the sutras, in the recorded words of the Buddha, where the Buddha said that. So Shantideva said, yes, you can find that. This is how amazing bodhicitta is said to be, so that even merely wishing can produce such great effect. Now, of course, it's more than just a fleeting, like a whimsical or a mere moment of like, oh yes, I want to free all beings. It's more than that. Verse 18, it says, for when with irreversible intent, that means, when the intention is not just like spur of the moment and then forgotten, but that, that resolve is irreversible. And what is bodhicitta? So this is a good definition here. Willing to set free the endless multitudes of beings. So it says, when that has arisen, then even when we are asleep, even when we're not actively thinking about this matter, merit rises to the sky. But here, Shantideva wants to encourage us to take the next step. And so that's why in verse 17 he says, from bodhicitta in intention, yes, great results arise. Even just aspiration bodhicitta, great results arise, even for those who are still caught up in the wheel of confusion. But really, you should take the next step. So he says, yet merit does not rise from it in ceaseless streams, as in the case with action bodhicitta. So he says, as much as in many places the Buddha praised aspiration bodhicitta as being so powerful and so great, but reality is, he says, until we also act, practice, put into practice, turn this resolve into actions, then it's not yet ceaseless, unending streams of merit. So the last line of verse 20 tells us why the Buddha, in those places where he seems to praise aspiration bodhicitta, to say that, oh, just having that is already so great, almost implying that you don't need to engage in action bodhicitta. And here Shantideva points out, no. Why he spoke like that is for those inclined to lesser paths. Meaning, in order to encourage those who said, hey, I don't need to be polished into a diamond. I don't need to be smelted into 99.999% pure gold. I'm content to just know that, with or without impurities, I'm gold. With or without cutting, I'm diamond. I'm just going to stay here. I don't want to be inconvenienced. I will just have peace of mind. And in that way, I have found my relief. Here, Buddha said, Shantideva says, in order to encourage these types, those inclined towards lesser ways. So the Buddha greatly praised Bodhicitta by saying, although bodhicitta has two aspects, relative bodhicitta has two aspects, merely just to desire to free beings is already so great. Shantideva says, but actually, he also wants us to take the next step, which is action bodhicitta. Now, so let's look at the next section, which is verses 21 to 26. Here, Shantideva begins to praise the power or the amazing qualities and the benefits of aspiration bodhicitta. Then in the next section, he's going to praise, point out, extol the qualities of action bodhicitta. But 21 to 26 is the benefits of aspiration bodhicitta. So I'm going to read now from 21 to 26, and if Wei Ting and Claudia can also read in the respective languages, that will be good. If with kindly generosity one merely has the wish to soothe the aching heads of other beings, such merit knows no bounds. No need to speak then of the wish to drive away the endless pain of each and every living being, bringing them unbounded excellence. Could our father or mother ever have so generous a wish? Do the very gods, the rishis, even Brahma, harbor such benevolence as this? For in the past they never, even in their dreams, wished something like this even for themselves. How could they do so for another's sake? This aim to bring about the benefit of beings, a benefit that others wish not even for themselves, this noble jewel-like state of mind arises truly wondrous, never seen before. The pain-dispelling draught, this cause of joy for those who wander through the world, this precious attitude, this jewel of mind, how shall we calculate its merit? So, the last verse, 26, this pain-dispelling draft, this wind that just come and can restore us, no matter how much pain or injury we have experienced. So this is Bodhichitta Aspiration, Bodhichitta. This cause of joy for those who wander through the world, meaning confused existence, this precious attitude, this precious state of mind, this precious heart, this jewel of mind. How shall we calculate its merit? It is so wonderful, it's so powerful, Shantideva says. So he begins in this section in stanza 21. He says, and here, right, it's actually a reference to one of the stories you find in the Jatakas, meaning like the actions and the practices of Bodhisattvas. So in one of these stories, there's a story about a merchant who went on a sea journey to go procure, to go get, to buy, to find jewels. When his mother discovered that he was going to do this, she was very alarmed and afraid because these journeys were very dangerous. So the mother came and like begged him not to go and grabbed his feet, but he like basically pushed the mother aside and even like kicked his mother's head. And he got on the boat and he went. The story says that in part also he felt like the mother's crying and pleading will bring bad luck to his journey. Then, as it turns out, that journey was disastrous. The ship kind of met with very bad weather. And so then everyone was thrown off. He was shipwrecked until he arrived at an island. Then, when he arrived at the island, even so he survived the shipwreck, he started to have these terrible headaches, what we would call migraines. He had this terrible migraines, like an iron wheel spinning on his head, it says. And it got worse and got worse and got worse until he truly could not bear it anymore, and on the verge of like death. But it said that in that moment, before he died, he made the connection. He said, "This is surely the ripening of the karma of kicking my mother in her head." Then in that moment, he said, he said, may the pain of others who may be suffering this karma as well for having kicked their mothers, may those karma just ripen on me. Let me take all of that suffering of people who might be experiencing this. And in that moment, it said when he died in that state of mind, that state of mind was so powerful that then he was born in one of the God realms. And so that is, by the way, that is compassion. Okay? That is a great example of compassion. So, not yet bodhicitta. Why? Because for it to be bodhicitta, it requires the wisdom aspect. This is the love and compassion aspect. But of course, without this kind of love and compassion, it also cannot become bodhicitta. So the minimum wisdom aspect that has to be present is that on the basis of, moved by love and compassion, you then make the resolve to say, then I understand that the only meaningful way to free others from suffering is for them to achieve the complete liberation of a Buddha. And in order to facilitate others' attainment of Buddha, I need to attain Buddha. Because if I'm lost and confused, then I cannot truly help anybody. And so now I will make the resolve to become Buddha for the sake of others. I will be willing to be cut and polished like that uncut and unpolished diamond until I become a diamond for the benefit of others. That's when it becomes bodhicitta. So verse 21 says, the desire to see that nobody suffers migraines is such a great merit that even though, and so alluding to that story, even though he has done such a negative things as kicking his mother's head, but his compassion that arose in that moment before his death led him to rebirth in a higher God realm. So Shantideva begins like this and say, now, if that thought, given what a terrible thing he did, kicking his mother in her head when she was pleading to him not to expose himself to this danger. So Shantideva says, then how much more if the mind goes from compassion to bodhicitta? 22, he says that, verse 22. So 22, Shantideva says, no need to speak then of the wish to drive away the endless pain of each and every living being, bringing them unbounded excellence. So he says, if this thought of freeing people from their migraines is so powerful, how much more the thought or the resolve of a bodhisattva to free all beings of all sufferings. He says, so think, how much more powerful and full of merit is bodhicitta. 23, he says, could our father or our mother ever have so generous a wish? So he says, even our father and mother, which in Shantideva's context of using father and mother, it's what's assumed is that his audience really feels, oh, my mom and dad is so good to me. So he's not talking to people who have to go to therapy to talk about, how their mom and dad neglected them. He's talking to people who naturally feels, oh, my mom and dad is so wonderful to me. Then he says, even your mom and dad who is so wonderful, so kind, so good to you, they never even dream of wanting you to become a Buddha. This is not to diminish your mom and dad's love and kindness to you. So here it says, but they never even have this generous wish. So here I think it's interesting because it helps us understand a little bit more. What is this virtue called generosity? And likewise then, what is the opposite of generosity? Right? Normally we say stinginess. But here, generosity and stinginess is not like it has broader application and meaning than the way we think about generosity and stinginess. Here, basically, it's talking about small mind and big mind. So small mind can only think of happiness in a very narrow and limited way. Big mind. So small mind can only think, conceive of happiness, entertain the notion of happiness in a very limited way. At best, the richest person on earth, at best, Jeff Bezos. If only I can be Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, by the way. Or if only everybody can be Jeff Bezos. From the perspective of bodhicitta, that is such a narrow, that is such a limited, such a stingy concept of happiness and freedom. So that's why even our fathers and mothers, right? They're like, oh, you should be a doctor. Because that's their concept of, how you're going to be happy, how you're going to be successful, how your kids are going to be, handsome and pretty. If only you will become a doctor. Or if only you will become, these days, maybe a coding person for computers. Shantideva says, that is so narrow, so stingy. True generosity is bodhicitta. So he continues, he says, even the gods and even the sages, the rishis, the sages, they, even them, don't know how amazing bodhicitta is. So gods here mean, the powerful ones in the world. The world, what the world considers to be most powerful, which is what gods are. I mean, not necessarily, with a halo, swimming around, flying around up in the sky, When you get on the plane, you look out the window, oh, will I see a god? Will I see a god, Maybe, there are these gods, but here it means, even the most powerful individuals in the world, they don't even have an inkling what bodhicitta is, much less wish bodhicitta upon you. Then the sages, meaning all the clever people in the world, all the thinkers, right? All the influencers, we call them, all the hacks, the mind hack, the people with, 10 million followers on Twitter or on YouTube or all of that. It says, all these sages, all these wise people, they have no idea about bodhicitta. Yeah, all these sages, all these influences on the social media platforms and YouTubes and all these places, right? In fact, if you tell them about the Bodhisattva vow to achieve liberation for the benefit of all beings, to do the impossible, they immediately tell you, oh, no, that is not realistic, that is not possible. Here, let's have a more realistic goal, and this is how, and this is how. I mean, they're very, convincing how, because they have stingy mind. We have stingy mind. So we are sometimes these gods. We are sometimes these sages. We are sometimes our father, our mother, telling ourselves, oh, no, not possible. No, this is too big. This is impossible. Then Shantideva says, even Brahma Even Brahma doesn't have this bigness of mind to wish bodhicitta. And who is Brahma? Brahma, in the Indian context, Brahma is a very sublime being inhabiting the highest level of the God realms. And how someone becomes a Brahma is actually through meditating and perfecting, so to say, the four immeasurable minds: love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So in the Pali tradition, we call these four the Brahma Vihara, meaning the Brahmas, they vihara means to dwell. Brahma, those who dwell in the Brahma states of mind, which is infinite love, infinite compassion, infinite joy, infinite equanimity. So Brahma has that kind of greatness. But here Shantideva says, even Brahma, with such unbounded compassion and love within confused existence, they are still lacking bodhicitta. For in the past, so this is verse 24, for in the past, they never, even in their dreams, as we say, even in their wildest dreams, wish something like this for even themselves. How could they do so for another's sake? Then verse 25, this aim to bring about the benefit of beings, a benefit that others wish not even for themselves. So not like ordinary benefit, but the benefit of becoming Buddha. So this aim, this noble jewel-like state of mind arises truly wondrous, never seen before. Verse 25. So how then 26 goes on to praise, how wonderful this aspiration bodhicitta is. This pain-dispelling draught, this cause of joy for those who wander through this world, this precious attitude, this jewel of mind, how shall we calculate its merit? And there's no way to measure its merit. So then, here we kind of take a pause and say, now how then can aspiration bodhicitta arise? What are the necessary causes and conditions for the arising of aspiration bodhicitta? And so here, there are again many ways to explain this. But one is the Jewel Ornament of Liberation quotes, Gampopa quotes this one sutra called the Ten Dharma Sutra, where there the Buddha taught four conditions that are necessary for relative aspiration bodhicitta to arise. And what are the four? Then the four is one, seeing the beneficial effects of bodhicitta, seeing bodhicitta's qualities. Second is developing devotion for the Buddha. So then particularly, right, as we know, this month of Sagadawa, always do more in reflecting and thinking of the example of Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha of our times, and then be inspired by devotion to Buddha Shakyamuni, to the Buddha. Doesn't mean, you pray to Buddha, like I said last time, oh, Buddha, come solve my problem, but to be inspired by his example. Of course, we can grow that inspiration, grow that devotion, yes, perhaps by maintaining a shrine, having an image of the Buddha, making offerings. These are, like very human ways of cultivating, expressing devotion to the Buddhas. But we should not think, Buddha is in the statue or in a tanka. Buddhas are not in statues. Don't treat statues and tankas as Buddhas, while simultaneously treat sentient beings as dirt. The real dwelling place, so to say, of Buddhas are in sentient beings. Then the third cause is seeing the suffering of sentient beings. Don't ignore, don't look away from. Recognize the suffering. Put ourselves in their shoes. Like I say, walk a mile in someone else's shoe, and then you will see, develop empathy, develop compassion. So that's the third cause. And the fourth cause is having the guidance of spiritual teachers. Guidance not only in his or her words, but importantly, guidance in terms of his or her own conduct and example. So when we have found such guides, don't take them for granted. Don't abuse them. But also don't turn them into, your favorite, film star, or football player. It's not a fan club. So these are the four causes for the arising of aspiration bodhicitta according to the 10 Dharmas Sutra. In a slightly different list, in this text also quoted by Gampopa, called Bodhisattva Bhumi, also four causes are given, but it's slightly different. So I want to share with you so that you can see some other kind of nuances, some other related points being emphasized in this other list of four causes. The first one is said to be that you have to have descended from this noble family. So obviously here we're not talking about biological. Here we're talking about spiritual gene. Your spiritual genes have to have this, the genes of a bodhisattva. So here we can say, if you have an interest in this topic, that is the proof or evidence that you have the necessary spiritual genes The second condition is to fully attend, to become a disciple of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and spiritual guide. And here, you know, to be a disciple of spiritual guides, don't be a disciple of spiritual guides with your mouth. Or these days with your Facebook or your Instagram. Where you post pictures and updates about, oh, my teacher, my spiritual guide, how wonderful, how this, how that. Basically, just mouth. Then turns out the guide is just like the flavor of the month. Maybe it'll last 6 months. Then the next flavor. And this is the mistake of relying on the person and not the teachings the person gave. Then that kind of relying also means, you know, you are just on your mouth, you know. Oh, this is my teacher, that is my teacher, this, that. It doesn't work like that. You also cannot unilaterally declare someone as your teacher. This relationship has to develop over time. Over encouragements and over disappointments. If it cannot withstand, especially disappointments, then whatever relationship you think you have with someone as a teacher or as a student, it's not genuine. It's just lips. Fingers. So, if it cannot withstand, you know, excitement and disappointment, then not there yet. That doesn't mean you've done it wrong. It just means it's not there yet, and yet might not happen in the way that you think it happens. Yeah. So to fully attend to the Buddha, Bodhisattvas, and spiritual master, so this is the second cause. Fully means, it has to grow over time. Then, of course, at the beginning, you're finding your connection. It's very normal, very natural that you will find your connection over time. And that's normal, Any teacher who doesn't recognize that, they're just, maybe they have no business being teachers. That people are going to check things out and, not know. But on the side of being disciples, don't fall into the trap of like puppy love. Meet some teacher, oh, you're my teacher, or this and that, because it encourages a habit of not skillfully relating, not fully attending Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and spiritual guides. Although in the genre of like spiritual biographies, especially Tibetan Buddhist biographies of great masters, one frequently encounters like a long list of like, oh, this person's teacher is this and that and this and that, Then we think, oh, I should also do that, tell myself, tell others, this is my teacher and this is also my teacher, or that and that. But actually, in one biography written by the nephew of a contemporary great Lama, Khenpo Kata Rinpoche, who passed away a year or so ago, something like that, close to 100 years old. His nephew wrote his biography, and in there, his nephew said, nobody has ever heard Khenpo Rinpoche say who is his teacher. And that, his nephew put it in there as an example of how great, how amazing Khenpo Rinpoche is. That he kept that to his heart, and he never boasted, he never revealed. And it's said in the context of how he respected and venerated all the teachers, but he never talked about his heart teacher. So that is given as an amazing example of a true master. So we should take that to heart. This is not an easy topic because discipleship is not something that we, as a culture, even in Asia these days, and more so in the West, discipleship is not something that we quite understand. So don't get me wrong, I'm not like criticizing or laughing at anyone. I recognize it's a very, very challenging topic that we don't know how to relate, but just think about it, Not that, the spiritual guide and disciples relationship is a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. But even just if you think about it, imagine you go to like a social gathering, a party, right? And then this couple comes around and one of them, throughout the whole evening, nonstop, that's my boyfriend, that's my boyfriend, that's my boyfriend. Right? Every conversation, that's my boyfriend, that's my boyfriend. What would you think, right? Immediately, like we would go, yeah, there's some problem in this relationship. Hey, that's my boyfriend, that's my boyfriend, that's my girlfriend, that's my girlfriend. Oh, that's my husband, that's my husband, that's my husband. I mean, even right in those conditions, you're like, what is going on here? And essentially, many of us do this, with our gurus or whoever we think is our guru. That's my guru, that's my guru, that's my guru. Yeah? And I have made a pin of my guru. I'm going to wear it here now. And think about it, it's a little, you're like not stable yet, That's why you have to behave like this. Don't do that. Many, many years ago, when I met my first Tibetan teacher, I was very fortunate. There was a Western monk attending this teacher, traveling with him in the US. And this teacher wasn't a big name, no Rinpoche title or anything like that, but well trained in the tradition. I was very fortunate to hear this monk who was his students relate and a story, an example of what is it that we should really be doing if we are relating to a teacher. So this monk said, oh yeah, he says, with Lama so and so. He said, So he said, I moved to Nepal to train with him, and so he gave me instructions, and I was starting to do my ngondro, my preliminary foundational practices. Then he said, one day, he said, like, I'm here, I arrive in Nepal, everything is new, and then I noticed, like, lamas give out these things called like protection cords, protection cords. And so this red string, very common, right? I think all of you probably have a whole bunch of protection cords that you don't even know what to do with them. So then this monk said, so one day he said to his teacher, this lama, he said, Lama, can I have a protection cord? And he said, the lama looked at him and said, didn't I already give you the instructions that you need? And he just left, walked out the room. He said he was kind of surprised, maybe a little disappointed, like, oh, I cannot even ask for something that, everybody has. He said, 3-4 years later, out of the blue, the Lama comes in to the room, to his room, with a protection cord and said, you asked for this. Here. And he realized at that point, that was also when he finally finished his ngondro. So it's not like the Lama doesn't care or was busy or was annoyed but didn't want to be inconvenienced. But this is like a real Lama, a real teacher. He's ultimately concerned about this person so that he was willing to risk this person not liking him and leaving or whatever. It was clear to him, like, I've given you Dharma, you put the Dharma into practice. Now you could say, well, what if due to that this person leaves? Then not enough karmic connections. You cannot force anything like that. Then you have to let them go, Don't waste anyone's time. Yeah, so don't waste our teacher's time in that way. Because ultimately it's don't waste our own time. Practice the Dharma. Then for those of you who say, well, I don't have such a person, don't waste your time running around looking. Practice the Dharma. So according to Bodhisattva Bhumi, then the third cause or condition is cultivating compassion for all sentient beings. And the fourth is having fearlessness towards suffering of hardships. That means we have to be tough. We have to be brave. Not easily giving up, not easily deterred. Yeah, so these are some of those conditions that are necessary for the arising of this amazing, wonderful jewel, which is aspiration bodhicitta. So then the next time we meet on Saturday, which is Saturday, then we will continue to the benefits of action bodhicitta. Which is from verse 27 to 30. So we have reached our allocated time, but in case there's any question that very urgently needs to be asked, we'll leave a few minutes for this.
There are two questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Joyce. Please.
Yeah. The first one is in Spanish. It looks like it says, wouldn't it be better to be reborn as a human another time instead of in the realm of the gods?
Yeah, of course, in the story, it's just emphasizing that just to think of relieving someone else's headache, migraines, cause this person who, because he has kicked his mother's head, by that karma, he should be born in the lower realm. But instead, he was born in the God realm. It's just a contrast between hell realm and God realm.
The next question is,
Joyce, we'll wait for the interpreters. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'm watching them.
Okay.
So that they can hear the question too. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The second question is, it is taught that the realization of emptiness and wisdom result from efforts made over many kalpas. Is the motivation to practice bodhicitta, even if only in intention, based on one's brief moments of compassion for others and experienced in past lives?
Yeah. Yes. Main thing is whatever we can do now, we do now. Don't get, distracted by all the things that we cannot do now. And sometimes, we get so distracted by what cannot be done, and then whatever little time that we have for what we can do, we occupy it with what we cannot do. Other questions?
Yeah, there's one more.
Uh-huh.
Is there a subtle form of self-love involved in bodhicitta, in that a selfish sense of achievement of some kind is involved by attaining Buddhahood so as to liberate all sentient beings?
Yeah, so however we define self-love, or I think the without getting too technical and too kind of tight in all these definitions, what I'll say is that in the approach Shantideva teaches, and in other places such as Lojong tradition, first of all, everywhere they say self-grasping, self-cherishing is ultimately the obstacle to freedom from suffering and confusion. So that is ultimately what needs to be overcome. However, to overcome that, sometimes that can be skillfully used. Self-cherishing can be skillfully used to destroy self-cherishing. Okay, next.
Are there examples of bodhisattvas that have achieved Buddhahood living with a partner or family? Or have all of them done it living in isolation as monks or nuns?
Insofar as manifesting what we call or displaying or showing the activities of what we call a supreme nirmanakaya. I know there's a lot of technical terms, the supreme nirmanakaya. And so the example of a supreme nirmanakaya is Buddha Shakyamuni. Insofar as that way of attaining awakening, then yes, it's always said to be in the form of a monk or a nun, maybe. But the point is that yes, it's in the form of someone who is not with a family and all of that. Okay, but there are also examples, not in the way of a supreme nirmanakaya. So, for example, Marpa, we say he was a family man, but it's said that he was also an awakened being. And then, like in the Buddha's own time, in the Mahayana Sutras, Vimalakirti was not a monk, not a nun, obviously, not an ascetic, and he was a businessman, a very successful businessman. And it is said that he was actually also awakened already, but he in that case, did not manifest the example of a supreme nirmanakaya. I think for us, the bottom line is this. Again, don't worry about can or cannot. A question of like other people can or cannot. It's a question of look at your own situation. If you have to take care of kids running around, then you have to take care of your kids running around. That's the reality that you're in. And so don't forget, basically maintain big mind. Don't let our practice, even practice, become tight. Whatever situation we are in, there's always a possibility to practice more space. In other words, cultivate a bigger mind. So we should end here now today. It's a lot of work, especially for the interpreters. I get to stop and not do anything, but the interpreters, they have to listen to me and then they have to translate. So we'll end with the usual dedication. Tangju semjo rinpoche ma ge pa nam ge
che ke pa nyam pa me pa yang gom ne gong du pe war sho. So we continue again on this Saturday, 9 to 11 New York time, AM. So goodbye, everybody. Ta-ta.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Yeah, sure.
Gracias.
Hello, Lisa.
Have a safe
Gracias.
trip, whether you're
Gracias.
aspiring or actually going.
Buen viaje. Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Yeah, ta-ta.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dr. Lai, thank you very much.
Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.